All right. Hello, coffee makers, not coffee takers. He is the master of cyber farms, Alfredzo B, Nash Jr., and I, the people's chief, Dr. Joseph J. Burt-Miller Jr., and we are your hosts for the Cyber Coffee Hour. We are products of Mount Vernon, New York, sharing our experiences and stories and sharing those of our amazing guests. We aim to share knowledge, elevate understanding, and foster a sense of belonging in this vast cyberspace. So for today's show, we're going to have a coffee chat with four-time author and cybersecurity leader Zinet Kemal. Now, Zinet Kemal is an immigrant from Ethiopia, a mother of four, a career changer from the legal field, a multi-award winning cybersecurity advocate, a TEDx speaker, a LinkedIn learner instructor, and a 3 times published award-winning children's book author. Zinet is a Georgia Tech University graduate with an MS degree in cybersecurity. She earned a BS in computer science and an LLB in law. She currently works for a Fortune 500 organization as a cloud security engineer. Her children's books, Proud in Her Hijab, champions girls' empowerment, and Oh No, Hacked Again, teaches children about the importance of online safety and spark interest in young readers considering cybersecurity as an exciting, meaningful career option. Zinet was featured on Good Morning America, 11 Alive, BBC, Yahoo News, ABC News, CBS Minnesota, WCCO, and Afrotech. Zinet Kamal, welcome to the Cyber Coffee Hour.
Oh my God, that is some introduction. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, yeah. It's an absolute honor when we have greatness before us, and for you to join us, and because I know you're busy. You're all over. Every time I turn on YouTube, you're doing some other talk. You're on TEDx. You're doing some book signing. You got your LinkedIn course you're doing. A whole bunch of people keep signing up for it. So we're going to dig into all that, and I just want to definitely learn about you. And so again, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to stop through and just share a little bit of a time with us today. So
Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience and thank you for, being flexible. I appreciate that.
It's all good, all good. So we'll get right into it. So first, so your journey, coming from a legal background to become a multi-award winning cybersecurity advocate is really inspiring. So I was wondering if you could just share some pivotal moments or experiences that motivated this career change. And how do you believe your diverse background enhances your approach to cybersecurity advocacy and education?
Yeah, thank you. So like you mentioned in the introduction, that I am an immigrant from Ethiopia. So I came here 10, 11 years ago. And I was working in legal field before I moved here. And when I came here, all I thought was I want to get into tech. So I started from community college, and then that's when just doing tech stuff because I had no idea about what cybersecurity is or anything like that. It was just like computer programming that I joined at a local community college, a 2-year college, and then transitioned to, because I wasn't sure what I was doing at that point. Number one, I lacked the background to do anything tech because in law school they don't teach you math, so I had to take all the math classes because I thought I went to because the educational system in Africa, in Ethiopia specifically, is different because in high school when you choose a certain path, you can only pursue a certain fields. For example, if you chose the natural sciences path, you can do, being a medical doctor, computer science, and that type of things. But then if you're choosing a social science path, that's when you can be in, economics, business, or law, that kind of things. So initially I thought I was bad at math. So I eliminated myself from that path. So I went to the social sciences, and because I was also really good at the history, geography, and all of the social sciences fields and subjects. So I chose that path. So at the end, I chose law, and it was great. I worked before coming here at an NGO and at a government as a legal expert in government agencies and stuff like that. But coming here, it's a really bold move to choose something outside of your comfort zone, something that you thought you avoided but then you have to fully now embrace, because you have to take all the math classes, all kinds of math classes, because you're doing computer programming. And then if we're talking about the computer aspect of it, because I don't have any, the only knowledge coming here that I had was like Microsoft Word, sending emails, like the Microsoft Suite stuff. That's the only thing, because number
Right.
one, we don't have access to internet and computer and that kind of thing. And I always talk about how in high school we only have a class per week, where we have 40 minutes class in a 12th grade or something, where we do just be seated for 3 people, and then we just had a chance just to learn Word and Microsoft DOS. I think there was something called Microsoft DOS thing before that,
Yeah.
and Word and PowerPoint. That was it. So coming here just to jump in, that was at least that was a bold move. Like, I had to educate myself a lot in that aspect of it, and avoiding the intimidation, because a lot of the people that I was sitting in classes, they were talking about, like, they did some of the projects that we were doing in college and high school, and I was like, I had no idea what they were talking about. So it was a little bit intimidating, number one, because I wasn't seeing also people who look like me in the classes. Really, really, like in most of the classes, even walking in campus, when people ask me like, well, are you nursing? That's like the assumption that they have. And then when they say that, I always say like, no, I'm doing computer programming. And everybody says, oh, that's different. And I didn't think about it, at that, like there are people who pursue certain fields, like there's that assumption of that you're supposed to be studying a certain field if you're looking some type of way. So
Right.
yeah, so that's what I did, my associate's degree, and then I transferred to a 4-year degree to do my bachelor's in computer science, because I did all the projects and deadlines and everything, because I was also a mom at that time. When I came, I had my oldest, he was 3 year old. Now he's 14. I don't know where time goes, but
Wow.
he was there. And then I came 7 months pregnant with my second one. So
Hmm.
I started right after I gave birth to her. I just started the school, the community college that I mentioned. So I transferred to a 4-year university where I did computer science, because I thought I needed to expand, because up until I graduated, with my associate's degree in computer programming, specifically with Java programming was the program. I mean, I got a 4.0. That was that was impressive. But then I didn't see where I could utilize that in the market. Like, I wasn't seeing myself doing any of the things. So I thought maybe if I do more, I'll find myself or something that I want to do. So I transferred to a 4-year university to do a computer science degree in like undergrad, like bachelor's degree. And then during senior year is when I discovered cybersecurity, which is like 1 year before I graduated. Was it? Yeah, the same year that I was about to graduate is when I found out about cybersecurity, because we had one elective class that we were supposed to take, which is Introduction to Information Security. And then the professor for that class, he was offering to coach, and he was soliciting students like to be in this cyber defense competition representing the university. So I was one of them. I signed up among the other people, which is again bold, because I had no idea what cybersecurity is, but I signed up for that class, which is an extra thing because I was also a full-time student at that time. And then I am a part-time IT intern at a local government. So I was trying to get the experience, trying to expand the
Right.
learning. And then I became part of that competition. When we signed up, it was almost full class, but that class went every Saturday for 5 months, where we have it's mostly self-education, like to prepare. And then people started to drop bit by bit, and then at the end of the day, only 8 people would get chosen to represent the university. And I was fortunate enough to be part of that team to represent the university. And we became third place from Minnesota colleges and universities, the Metro State University that I represented with my team. And I think that exposure opened the door for the world of cybersecurity, in understanding like the team dynamics in terms of blue team, red team, and then how in a simulated environment that we could defend a network, kind of thing. So to answer your question, that was it. But in terms of how does the diverse background influence me, I think coming from as a career changer, I think it gives you a lot of transferable skills that you bring in. May not have the math and the cloud computing or any of the computing concepts or the programming. Like you may learn everything from scratch, but you will still have, communication skills. Probably the writing skills came from law school because we used to write a lot. For one assignment to solve one hypothetical case, you have to write 10 pages or something. You don't think about it because you drop everything and start something else. But in hindsight, there might be other skills that came, and then also being adaptable to changing things and to learning new things. I think that those things can be applied to security or problem solving. A lot of the essential skills that we talk about are important in the field. I think can be brought up from other fields as a career changer. So that's one message that I want to say is like don't discount your other experiences that you bring in from other fields. So yeah.
So it's like you married those two experiences to become very diligent in the field. So let's jump into your children's books such as Proud in Her Hijab and Oh No, Hacked Again. Let's tackle the important theme. Let's tackle the important theme. Excuse me, of empowerment and online safety for young readers. What inspired you to write these books, and how did you hope they impact children's understanding of cybersecurity?
Yeah, so I am also an author. Since 2021, I decided to write a children's books because I used to get a lot of questions from my own kids. Like I said, I'm a mom of four, so you never lose inspiration because when you talk to them, these kids, I think they know more than us. I'm convinced, if
I
we choose to
agree.
listen to them and just work with our egos, they know
Yeah.
Right.
more. Um, but yeah, they used to ask me a lot of questions since, even my oldest, since he was in kindergarten. Like I said, my oldest is 14 years old. He's in 8th grade. He used to ask me always, like, why do I have different hair than my friend Henry? He used to always ask me, like in kindergarten, right? And then, when you're living in a society where you're interacting with diverse group of people, you have to have an answer, but parents usually don't have an answer. But I used to answer all of their questions, not only him, but then, like, oh, everybody else is, everyone is different. Everyone's hair is created differently. Everybody's, the hair color might be different. You explain as a parent. And then my daughters, as they grow, they also started as a practice to wear the headscarf, the hijab. And then their classmates ask them questions about those things, and then from answering those, and I thought, what, if these questions are getting asked, maybe I should write a book about it. So Proud in Her Hijab is written to create awareness for other people about what the hijab is, why Muslim girls and women wear the headscarf and hijab, because a lot of the misconceptions and stereotypes that is spewed on the media, a lot of those things come from not knowing. I truly believe that it's from not knowing. So I think for our children,
Right.
if we create that environment, to teach them the reason why in a friendly manner, in a story format, because I know how many parents thank me, like the teachers thank me whenever they see it in the classroom, even adults saying that, oh, this is why, now we understand, so
Right.
that is one. And the other piece is also to empower the girls to be proud of themselves, because there were a time when Muslim women or girls were not proud of wearing their hijab, like they were scared to wear it outside. So this is part of who you are. If this is what you're choosing, you can continue to wear it and be proud of it. It's part of your identity and it's your faith. So that was the first book. So it was like more empowerment piece and then creating awareness. But then Ono Hacked Again came, I think, the year after, 6 months after I published Proud in Her Hijab. Is when it was born, because COVID time, my kids got hacked more than once, while gaming online. That was the time when they didn't have any social life. Remember, lockdown, that was like their safest space to game and interact with other people. They weren't only gaming, but they were also talking to people, right? Like their friends and stuff on site, other apps, not necessarily the gaming itself. So my son got hacked on one occasion, a different situation, and then my daughter, the same thing happened, but a different scenario. So I thought this is keeping happening. Even I'm intentional in terms of like warning them as someone who works in security, and then just as a parent, like you're trying to protect them and give them advice, and not so deeply, because that's what I discovered when I did the TEDx talk, is we don't really pay attention to that aspect of it in terms of kids. Yeah, adults, take care of yourself, because you're dealing with the bank accounts, you're dealing with a lot of the things, but when it comes to children, like what harm could it be? They're just gaming online, and but that's not the case. Especially when I was doing the research for the TEDx talk, it's quite the opposite. So it was born out of sharing what has happened in the story. So I talked about how they got hacked, and like the story goes through that, like the character got hacked, and then how she dealt with it, interacting with her family and her siblings, and what led her to the hack, and how she protects herself in the future, that kind of thing. So yeah, that was the inspiration behind it, is to through relatable stories, because these kids, if you ask them at any age group now, because the book is for middle schoolers and elementary school age group, they're all gamers. Like that's what they do. They game online. Uh, so these relatable stories catch their attention in terms of um, relaying those important messages of password security, or use MFA, or don't talk to strangers, like protect your privacy, like how it is important whatever you're putting out online stays there forever. Those kind of concepts, I think we can do well with stories that they are willing to listen to, because I see them, like I do author visits to schools and stuff. Every time I go there and ask them, like, who plays games, everybody raises their hand. And then they're willing to share their stories and secrets, right? Like what
Yeah.
happened, how we got hacked, and all of those things. So it's a really, really good, important, conversation starter between a parent, a child, a student, and educator, in terms of, educating the youth in terms of uh, how to protect themselves online, whether gaming or not. Not everybody may be a gamer, but you're interacting for school or for other purposes online. So yeah, that was the reason it was really received well. All of the medias that you mentioned is as a result of that book. The TEDx was based on that book. And then also, the segments that I did with the different medias is also based on books. So it was really received well. And it's also available in Spanish. So that was the goal, like to make it more
Okay.
available in other languages. Yeah.
Well, I
Nice.
appreciate that, because I'm be honest with you, got a new fan now. I really appreciate your work. I'm adding it to my kiddos wish list, because my oldest talks about the game characters like they're friends at school, and I can't keep up. They all talk about it during pickup, and now my son, her brother, right, is the youngest on the tablet with her too. So I appreciate your work, because I'm borrowing it. I'm adding it to the wish list. I'm gonna pick it up as well. I couldn't keep up, and you're right. It's something that went right over my head. Like, who is this person they're talking about? It's a character in the game. And they also have these reading apps in games called a mirror. A mirror, they're talking about it amongst their peers like they're a friend. So thank you for that. I'm definitely gonna pick up a copy and try to school myself on it as well. So jumping off of that too, we have another one. See Yourself in Cybersecurity, your international Amazon #1 bestsellers guide for middle schools and high schools, like you said. Interested in pursuing careers in cybersecurity. Could you discuss the inspiration behind that book and how you aim to inspire the next generation of cyber professionals?
Yeah, that one is my latest one that got published last year, just before my grad school graduation at Georgia Tech. So I was doing it in parallel with with the schooling, but it was really important because, how aspiring professionals, I get almost daily messages from on LinkedIn, how to get into cybersecurity. I love what you're doing. I want to be doing the same thing, but then they're always asking, I want to get into cybersecurity. And I always like find this common theme that people think that cybersecurity is just a one thing, without realizing that cybersecurity is very broad and it has a lot of domains within it. So I always end up explaining that, like, first of all, you need to know this. First of all, you need to know why, like know your why, but then also, did you know that also there are different domains that you can explore to? The opportunities are there, but then cybersecurity is not one thing. And then I thought of, since I am in the theme of children's, I thought of, our youth, because we always talk about how we should be, inspiring or introducing STEM fields to children at a young age, and cybersecurity comes top of mind. Like if the aspiring professionals don't know, how our upcoming generations know? And we always talk about the workforce gap now, which grew to 4 million. We've always heard about it since I joined the field. That's the common theme. One is women in security, how it was like 11% to 24%. Now it was never there, and I wrote a lot of articles about it, and I talked about it in the past. But with the youth, like if we're talking about workforce gap, like how are we thinking long term? How do we nurture that talent from? Because if they're not seeing people around them doing it, how are they going to get inspired? If they're not seeing people look like them or not seeing it, So that was the motivation behind it, to create a book for middle schoolers and high schoolers to introduce them cybersecurity, like why it is important, but then also to break down the 14, 13 roles that I covered within that small book. It's 5x8 small book, but then it has illustrations showing different roles as kids in diverse backgrounds from across every spectrum, how they could see themselves doing the same thing in those fields. So one, I could be talking about forensics, and then in other times, GRC is discussed, sales, even sales. Like, so the hardest part for me to, release that book was, number one, am I speaking in kids' language? Because some of the terms that were used to describe those roles might be too technical. But then I thought, if you teach kids, they'll know. They'll know. If you try to, of course, don't make it too technical. Even adults don't want to deal with that. But then I have glossary at the end of each role that I've described. And then I used as role models the people that I know from LinkedIn, that I, are inspirational to me. For example, AJ Yon, he's my mentor. Like he's on the book as a child, but wanted to be in GRC space because I know that AJ is in GRC. Or Jarek Beeson, who's a CISO, like he wants to be a CISO. So those are some of the things that I used to show diverse characters, to show that anybody can pursue this field. And hey, it exists, because people always say that kids might say, I want to become a doctor, a teacher, a plumber, or whatever field, but you don't hear them say, I want to be a cybersecurity professional. So at least what we could do is tell them that it exists, and then let them make their choice. And I talk about this incident where I went to school to do a book read aloud, and I was talking about this, and the kid, he raised his hand and he said, like, for now, I'm going to keep being a soccer player. I don't want to be, pursuing cybersecurity. But he said, it's so interesting, like he stopped everybody, and it was like the last question, and then he raised his hand and he said, but when I become a famous soccer player, can you be my cybersecurity person?
Nice.
Sure, I have time, and I'm not going to be old, and I'm not retiring.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I mean, always like create that exposure. It's always fun to do these author visits because they ask you all kinds of things. So it's fun. Yeah, that was the inspiration, and it's been great. I am in the process of getting it translated, almost done to release it in Spanish language, because it's always interesting to make sure that the books are available in different languages if possible. And then Ono Hack, the game that I mentioned earlier, was recently released in audiobook too, because more options and formats means more creating accessibility for people who can't read it. And there are different I had no idea that. I thought it was just the adults who prefer to do audiobooks too, because they don't have time. But my daughter told me that, we do audiobooks all the time, like in classrooms. So, I didn't know that. And I read that there are different benefits to also doing audiobooks for children. So yeah, those are available. So hopefully to have See Yourself in Cybersecurity in audiobook format soon as well.
So don't spoil the book for me too much, but it sounds like a little bit of mix of Tribe of Hackers. But are the kids pretending to be in the roles? Or are they trying to gather a better understanding of the role by asking questions?
The ones in the author visits or in the
The
book characters?
the book characters themselves.
Oh, the book character themselves, they're for example, so 14 roles, right? So they are highlighting some of, I talk about, for example, Quentin, he wants to become a cyber forensics and he has these skills, some of the skills that are relevant for that you already have as a child. For example, like you may be detail oriented, so he wants to pursue this when he
Nice.
grows up, something like that. So it was narrated in that regard, but then at the bottom, so maybe I mentioned some word like vulnerability or pen testing, so then I just define the words at the bottom, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep.
So as a cloud security engineer for a Fortune 500 organization, I know you're deeply involved in securing cloud-based systems, but what advice would you give someone that is looking to enter that same arena?
So cloud security is one domain in security. And before I get to cloud security, I worked in IT auditing, information security auditing at a local government when I started my career first. And then I transitioned to information security, AppSec, application security type of work at the state government, and then transitioned to cloud security. So that's something that I always like to always mention, is that once you get into security, like you're also able to pivot or translate some of the skills that you have to, pivot among, within domains of security, of course, based on available, opportunities or interests, right? So when I get into cloud security, I think before I started applying, or even I didn't even think of even I was just preparing myself for it. So that was late 2020. I was just studying the cloud. So that's the first one, is like, first of all, know why you like to be in cloud security, right? Know that's one aspect of security that you can be in. But then at that point, my motivation was like, everybody was going to the cloud. A lot of enterprises were migrating to the cloud. If you recall, like COVID time was huge.
Right.
Of course, AI came and stole the show now. Nobody's talking
Yeah.
about cloud security. But, it's still a big thing. So I was just educating. So I started from AWS. So I pursued cloud practitioner at the end of 2020 while I was in state government information security. I even got promoted 6 months later to a senior role when I was working at the state government here in Minnesota. But then I was just preparing myself. So I just did the cloud practitioner. And then I did the CCSK, which is Cloud Security Alliance's certificate. I don't know if you know about it. It talks about the different, it's just cloud security. It's not vendor, it's vendor agnostic. It's not specific to any,
Right.
AWS cloud or anything like that. So I just wanted to learn what cloud concepts, and then of course, I would say always pick one cloud and learn. It doesn't matter if it's Azure, GCP, or AWS, but I started with AWS. If you know one, I think it's easier to translate some of the services and the languages for others. My paths would always AWS, but then after some time, I think I also did SANS GCLD. It's called Cloud Security Essentials. It talks about the different cloud because it gives example from different cloud service providers. So I did that. But then before even I did the SANS certificate, I was doing a SANS presentation on cloud before even being in the field. So I did a presentation in 2021 at a SANS summit regarding some permission boundaries, IAM stuff, presentation there. Totally researched and everything. I did a presentation. Looking back now, it surprises me because I wasn't even working in the cloud at that point. But then those helped me for my current role because I was doing the presentation and I did a few certifications, probably just the cloud practitioner in the CCSK. And I started getting approached by my current employer. And I was saying like, no, I'm good where I'm at. I don't want it. I'm not coming, like I was resisting partly because you don't feel like you're ready. Sometimes people need to tell you you're ready there's that thing, and I'm hard on myself. So I was like, no, I'm not there. I'm just educating myself. I'm not there. No, but I'm glad that they were persistent about 3 to 5 months, and then finally, okay, let's explore this, and which I'm glad I did. So I did cloud security, solutions architect, AWS solutions architect in 2022. And then just this week, I did AWS security specialty, which is a 3-hour long exam.
Yeah, how
Just
did you like
4 days
that one? That's
ago.
a tough one.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. I studied for 4 months. So
Mhm.
for people, I would say like I'm actually about to publish tomorrow a blog for people, like who wants to do, because you don't find a lot of resources on that one. Whenever I do any certification, I always look for like how do people pass? Like, they do YouTube videos, kind of them. It's not easy. And then they do
Mhm.
blog writing and that kind of thing. So I didn't find like the solution architect or the cloud practitioner, because as it gets to specialty level, I guess I don't know if there's less people or people. I just didn't find a lot of information. So I am doing that. So I'm gonna be posting it tomorrow for people, because I said I will, and people are messaging me, when is it coming? So it's already written. I'll just publish it tomorrow and post about it. But I recommend for people who want to get into cloud to learn the cloud. I know that it's important because a lot of organizations are on there. And one of the biggest challenges in cloud security is lack of skilled professionals. And I have some numbers that I posted about it. I don't have it at the top of my mind, but one of the challenges, like misconfiguration, all of the things, but also lack of skilled professionals in the field. So you can still be educating yourself and be prepared in that regard. So start with any cloud type, and they always have like a path for certifications. And of course, you learn best on the job too. Sometimes,
Yeah.
that helped me in terms of pursuing the security specialty one, because that one's very tough. Um, because it's a specialty, and then also the way the exam is structured is like it's a paragraph long questions and similar answers. So that was that. I prepared for it for the past 4 months or so, and that's why I've been postponing a lot of the things and invites that I was getting. So yeah, I recommend doing those paths and learning, and also getting lab experiences, because not everyone is
Yeah.
working in cloud. AWS has always a free lab, the well architected free lab. I'll post it on the resources that I'll be sharing, and what resources helped me, and then also like how do people get that practical experiences. But you can see, if you see my even journey, uh, I did presentations, for example, that was helpful. That requires researching and doing some labs. Like in that presentation, I think is still on YouTube. I was doing actual, demo of showing people how to do that aspects of AWS, like IAM permission boundary, and how that helps with implementing the list privilege in the cloud. So that I think that's the path for people to go through, if they want to explore cloud security spaces.
Well, first, I have to, first kudos to you. Congratulations on enduring that monster of an exam.
The gauntlet.
I know. My head was starting to hurt when you mentioned how long that exam was, but you did it, and I'm sure people who are following will definitely appreciate just learning about your experience, because that's always the number one question whenever someone passes an exam is, all right, what resources did you use? That's always I know that's the question I always ask if I have the same certification I'm pursuing. So yeah, that's amazing. That's great, and again, congrats to you on passing that.
Yeah, I applaud you
So
going to the specialty level too. That specialization says a lot as well. You kind of focus folks on to sticking to it, getting to the professional level, and holding it down at that level wherever you go. So yeah, double kudos on that as well. The specialty is equal to professional or higher sometimes in the Amazon camp.
Adding to that, we talk about your accolades and recognitions that also include being named in the Minneapolis St. Paul Business Journal 40 under 40 in the
Nice.
Cybersecurity Hub Top 25. cybersecurity leader, highlight your significant impact in the cybersecurity field. So, with those achievements, what do these achievements mean to you personally? How do you use your platform to further advocate for cybersecurity awareness and diversity in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I get, pop up to other people's minds to be nominated for some of the awards, that it just makes me, very super, super grateful, let alone to win some of these awards. Like I'm living in my world always. Like I
Right.
don't think that people know me, whenever I go somewhere and people or do author visits, people like, I know you, and like, you guys are real people and you live close by. That surprises me all the time. Like, I know you from LinkedIn, and they want to introduce me whenever I go to, just from local events even. But then, for people to nominate you and then to win, that means a lot, and I'm always grateful for that. But I always say for people that you shouldn't be getting validation from outside, because that's not sustainable. Like, the validation should always come from within. But I always use those platforms to talk about the important things that needs to be said, in terms of whenever I win an award, for example, for my books. Those are very important, and I won multiple awards with my books, and that's a platform, right, to talk about the important things, either diversity within the field, just the representation of showing up as myself, to be, because I won the SANS Difference Makers Award for Best Book of the Year for See Yourself in Cybersecurity. Just last year, I went to DC, just being on stage and receiving that award and making speech about important things that you need to, remind people. And, I think getting that platform is really important to talk about the important things, children's online safety, or women in cybersecurity, or diversity. I think that's how I see it. And I just want to use the platforms to educate and empower, advocate for, diversity, and then collaborate with other leaders and engage with other leaders. But then at the same time, I always talk about building brand. It's always part of building your brand, to reinforce what you're doing is getting recognized by other people, your industry peers, is always something that always inspires me to do more, because we don't always operate at our best level. We always have high and lows, and just whenever such things happen, it always reminds me of, right, okay, maybe I'm doing something right. I should keep going, because sometimes the journey is, if it can feel lonely sometimes, even when we're doing things. So it's always important to have a community, a sense of inspiring and highlighting other people. I nominate other people for awards. I've been doing it before I was nobody knew me, but then when people do it, like, that's just I think it's always good to uplift other people and recognize people's hard work, and I really, really appreciate that, and use that platform to spread something good and important, using that platform.
No, I think that's great. That's amazing. So we talked about your books. Well, also just kind of just learn a little bit more as far as some of the other things that you have going on, whether with your TEDx or even with your LinkedIn courses. Anything you could share a little bit more when it comes to that?
Yeah, I did my first LinkedIn learning course last year, on building your personal brand, because we always talk about that in the field. Like, we
Right.
always, when people advise, mentors, coaches, they always talk about, do your head down work, build your technical skills, essential skills, but then how do people know you, right? The traditional way of just sending resumes and waiting for responses is not how things are going right now, and I always share about, like, the data, how people are on social media, how employers check your social media. I mean, at least, like LinkedIn, right? The professional one. And then how it is important to build your brand, because how networking is so important, on top of doing whatever you're doing to build your technical skills and essential skills, is like to network and build your brand. And initially, I was like, what is a personal brand? Probably I was doing it without knowing. I was building it without knowing what it was called. So my course is on how to build your brand in cybersecurity. And yeah, that is already out last year. It already has over 3,000 learners taking the course, and I've been receiving a real good feedback so far. Yeah, that was that. And I'm also creating another one this year on a cloud security topic. So I'll be heading back to California again in August to record the course. So I'll be sharing the specific topic of what the course is about in the coming few months or so. So that was that. And I think you asked about the TEDx too. TEDx, well, that's a big stage for someone to start and do first speaking on the stage. Like that was my first in-person talk that I did. But sometimes, and as an introvert, I would be saying no in the past, but sometimes when you're having important messages that you want to share, sometimes it's not about you. It's about the idea that needs to get out, right? So I did my first TEDx talk at TEDx Minneapolis, which is already on YouTube right now. So it's based on one of my books, like I mentioned earlier, Oh No, Hacked Again. The concept is similar. I shared a lot of stories that wasn't shared on there. What are some of the threats that are out there for children's online safety, and how what are some of the call to actions? Because in TEDx, you can't be talking a lot more than 12 minutes. So that big topic in 12 minutes is out there, and it has over 121K viewers on YouTube right now. So I encourage everybody to check it out. And it has call to action for parents, educators, and policymakers in terms of how we need to be protecting our children online, their security and privacy. So yeah, that was that. So been trying a few things here and there outside of work.
Kudos to you on that. We always joke in my family that if you ever see any of us on a TED Talk, you've officially made it. So kudos to that. That platform is officially recognized in my entire family. I'm trying to get the word out. So yeah, that's a big platform. And with that, I want to ask, in tandem to that, rather, how has cyber overall affected your career? Like, how is this with the TED Talk, your persona, your brand, the books, everything you've done and literally grinding and hustling on? How has cyber specifically affected your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I know that I found something that I want to do in terms of, from that point of me getting involved in the cyber defense competition to the roles, because if you see me, I wasn't in the field for a very long time. It's only been 5 years, but I've been with 3 roles. And then, the books and the courses and the TEDx, all of the things. So I think when you find something that you love doing and find it impactful, I think you don't see it as a job. You just enjoy doing it and trying to find other ways to solve a problem that you're seeing or to creating impact. It doesn't matter how long you've been within the industry. I think that's how I see it, because people ask me, you've not been working in the field 10, 15 years? No, I just hit 5 years. So I think it's I think anybody, if I can do it, anybody can. As a mom of 4, if I can do it, anybody can.
Nice.
What are some obstacles you had to overcome along your journey?
Oh, going to school. Like for the past 9 years, I've been in school, from associate's degree to bachelor to master's degree, and doing it on top of having kids and raising little humans and dealing with them. I think that's been a challenge in terms of like coordinating, to do nighttime classes or online classes, or COVID time, they decided to make the house school, and they were having this office all, classroom, right? That we have 3 kids in 3 different classes, COVID time, that needs distance learning support. And on top of that, I just had a baby with my 4th one. He was a newborn. He was 4 months old at that time. And then I had a new job at the state government. So at that point, there was no book, no TEDx, no LinkedIn, nothing. Probably I had like 200 connections on LinkedIn, but that's when it started, right? Like,
Right.
so supporting. So those were the challenges in terms of like going back to school. It's not the same. Like I did my law school back home, but that was my only job. But when I do schooling on top of rebuilding my career while raising a family, and then also pursuing crazy adventures on the side, such as let me write a book.
Side quest.
Exactly. Those are not easy. Like that wasn't my main job. I have responsibility for the kids. I have to help them with something or answer the, answer them when they call me 100 times for no reason. So it was just those things that, of navigating and prioritizing and reprioritizing, because I don't want to, there's no work-life balance. There's no balance. You don't balance it at the same time and go perfectly. You just prioritize and reprioritize and go from there. So, yeah.
I have a cousin that would call us insane professional students for going back to school consistently and staying like habitually in school. He says we're insane professional students.
I know, and there are still people who are suggesting that I go for a PhD. Advise me, doctor. Doctors, advise me not to.
You never know. You'll come out with two PhDs. Dual PhD at the rate you're going, right?
Never know.
So as you're working through that, and maybe you're even considering maybe going for that PhD, what would you say is your favorite coffee that's gonna help you get through that?
I mean, I always send them this meme where I'll send you the meme, but when people ask people to go for a PhD, but I like my husband he's a very coffee fan, and he makes all the coffee, not me. I just drink. Back then I used to, because in Ethiopia we have a traditional way of making. Even here, coffee came from Ethiopia. I don't know if you know that, but we have a special way of making it. We have a special ceremony for making it. Like you get the whole coffee bean, you roast it, you grind it, and it's the traditional way. Like when we didn't even have like the machine that we use here. There is back home, but the majority of the population use it to grind with I don't know, some tool, I don't know how to explain it, but you do that, and then we make it with a special pot, and then the cups are this small but strong. You don't add any milk or anything, and it's very, like, if you Google Ethiopian traditional coffee making, you'll see it's a whole vibe, and it has popcorn.
I'm down.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, I'm down. I think I've seen it too. I think I know exactly what
it looked like magic to me.
I know there's like there's a scent that they would put on we put on a charcoal, like there's a sun coming, a scent coming, a beautiful scent, and then there's a popcorn on the side. It's a whole ceremony. Like there's a first round, the second round, the third round.
I'm actually looking at it. It says Ethiopian coffee ceremony. So I'm down. I'm down for that.
Exactly. Go to Ethiopian restaurant. I know. So yeah, so dark, like just with the usual one that we drink is right now, because we're busy, we don't really have time for the ceremony, but I recently got the thing to make it and stuff, because when my kids were very little, they used to break the pot every time, so I quit. I'm like, I'm not doing it, because they go over there, they break it, it cracks it, and it's gone. And then I buy it, and then now it's not sustainable. You know what? I'm gonna wait until they grow up. So we use a coffee machine, and then we just drink, black coffee with no sugar. That's how we drink. Yeah.
Well, you converted my thinking now. I'm gonna try to make that a hobby in my household. So coming off of that, are there any hobbies that you take interest in now with everything along? Like, so when you take a break or when you settle down, what do you do, as a hobby or for fun?
I don't really have a social life, especially after COVID time, because my kids take up all the time. I'm like, call me in 5 years. All my friends run away.
Wow.
I
wasn't expecting that.
I know, it's always our kids, it's realistic. Like, I'm not gonna pretend, but I love reading books. I used to love reading books back home, especially we don't have the access, so we're like always like sharing and reading. And because also I had a better time than I use right now with the kids and everything, so I have a lot of books that I started and not finished.
Right.
So I have books that I'm reading, like I've started and stopped. So I'm like always like, one day I'm gonna come back. But I love reading. But then just the best thing right now is just talking to my kids, like just having conversation with them. There's always something interesting coming up, from having conversation with them. That's the best thing, and just doing things together, like going out somewhere and that kind of thing, like just the simplest things. But social life is and I became more introverted. Like, unless I'm invited for some event, I go in, do something, and leave. And my husband knows like the the amount of time that I am like there, not checking out, whenever I get invited for some places, because like I'm introverted, like I'm done, I'm leaving. So yeah, those two things, just spending time with my kids for now. But I love reading books and I want to get back to it, because I've been busy the past few years just writing books and publishing. That whole journey is its own work.
And I definitely could relate to you when you talk about, because I think what you described is the Irish goodbye. So like if you're out at a social event and
A bell goes
you
off.
just dip out, you just leave without saying bye to anybody, and you're like, hey, where did she go? Oh, she left like a
Exactly.
half
Like,
hour ago.
oh my God. And my husband always advises me, like, I think you get tired quickly because you're giving energy, like you're talking for
Yeah.
real, like you're smiling and you're talking, and then I just at some point I'm done. And then with the kids too, like the
Right.
kids, that's very fun in the moment, but as soon as I get in the car, I'm done. Don't talk to me.
Finish.
I'm
Right.
tired. Yes. It's just the energy. So I think that's how I know that, oh, am I introverted? And then whenever there's something like, oh, there's something coming up, like just the idea of doing it weeks before, just talking about it, just that, just I think this COVID lockdown changed a lot of our things and interactions.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Like you have a predefined tolerance for the speaking while doing a lot of speaking. That's very
Exactly.
interesting.
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to speak anymore here. but
Right.
I'm
but
enjoying this.
no,
I'm in the house.
but no, we definitely appreciate you. Spending time with us here, just sharing a little bit of your story, your life with us, and also just in awe of the amazing work that you're doing and what you're doing to further the cybersecurity field. So please continue to do continue doing what you're doing because it's great. It's making a big impact and it's really affecting and changing lives. So again, appreciate you coming through and sharing your story. And so before we go, is there any last words you want to share with our listeners?
I just want to say, check out, what good is a book or a course or any talk that, the authors do so much work, especially with self-publishing, and with any content creation, what you're doing, the podcast or anything, right? What good is it if people don't, hear it or, use it, right? So I just want to
Right.
invite people, like, check out my course if you're building, if you want to get into the field, like building a personal brand is really important. I share my personal experiences through that course, or check out my books because I'm a self-published author. I don't have a big publisher, and you're competing with tons of books. So I always appreciate people. I don't go out and do vendor like selling books, but I know that whenever I do post on LinkedIn, that kind of thing, people always reach out and they're looking for 200 copies for their events and that type of thing. So I always appreciate people like support authors by checking out their work and leaving a review. That's really golden for authors'
Yeah.
work because it takes courage, like to do something and put it out there for the world. So check out my TEDx talk, and I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me. I know that, and I want to thank the people who are listening, your audiences. I want to thank them for taking the time to listen to this episode and other episodes because I know how much time we spent in creating this content to put it out there for other people. You're doing it to benefit others. So I appreciate you and I appreciate the audience.
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us.
And thank you for that, and thank you those listening in, tuning in to the Cyber Coffee Hour. If you enjoy this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on all of our platforms. You can find the Cyber Coffee Hour on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. That's it. That's a wrap. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.